Tools shape consciousness. A century ago, new tools shattered fundamental perceptions of space and time. New technologies spawned a new logic, a logic of centralization, segmentation, uniformity, and repetition. Early computing models raised the level of automation to staggering and unprecedented levels. Information became the new product. However, the production of information was still mired in the hierarchy and inflexibility of the assembly line mindset, where value is measured simply by volume. Surprisingly, even in the 90s, this mindset is embedded in our business practices. It is this shop-worn relic of times gone by which inhibits our ability to use new technologies to their fullest potential. Now, a new generation of tools has sparked alternative modes of organization and interpretation, and the promise of a second industrial revolution depends on our ability to accept new ways of thinking. The promise is manifested in peer-to-peer computing, an architecture in which computing resources are distributed horizontally throughout the network. With peer-to-peer, resources reside at the site designated by the needs of the end user. Access is uninhibited, and capacity is easily scaled to ensure symmetry between supply and demand. Peer-to-peer is not simply an improvement on 40 years of business computing. It is a fundamental challenge to 100 years of traditional business logic.
If you're going to think conventionally, you're probably going to be out of business in the computer field in 5 or 10 years.
There's little point in changing a system if the only thing that matters is changing the technology. What we have to do is to go and change the business practice.
At a time in which nanosecond has become a part of the vernacular, the ability to cope with rapid change will determine success or failure. Amidst the upheaval, businesses are scrambling to combat uncertainty. Information is the ammunition.
We're a long way from the days of just doing payrolls and accounts receivable. This is a competitive tool. This is a weapon that we can use.
Inside the glass house, bigger was better. A system's value was measured by the volume of work it facilitated. Today, simplicity determines utility. The best solutions streamline processes and eliminate work.
All of the activities that a corporate organization performs in earning its keep, in earning a living, have to be completely re-examined to eliminate anything that's unnecessary in that relationship with the customer.
Refer back and we wouldn't have all of these specifications attached.
There was a lot of customer dissatisfaction. We were getting many phone calls on how long it was taking us to enter an order, where is our PO, why hasn't our product shipped.
The customers were really unsatisfied with how long it took them to get a credit for the product that they're returning to Sun. They would have to call in their field office, then the field would submit a request to us. We would issue the return.
The customer would fax the order to the sales office. The area field entry admin would enter the order in, and they would fax it over to our central fax machine.
To reduce that time, we worked on a new project, and it was a new database, and it was called Sunship.
My particular customer will be going to EDI afterwards, in which their purchase order will come in, and the system will automatically, I believe, create the order right then and there.
We used to spend all day long, 10, 12 hours a day working on backlog, and now, in the new process, we have new reports. We have the ability to see an order right when it's approved.
We all sit together now. The order taking person, the order entering person, the scheduler, the collector, all sit together. So they all communicate with each other, and they know right away when an order is entered, scheduled, and it's shipped.
We have reduced our quote-to-collect cycle by 100 days in the last 2.5 years. That's the time from the time that our sales rep places a quote with our customers, till our customer places an order, till we manufacture the parts, till we ship the product to the customer, till we invoice, collect the cash, and put it in the bank. By reducing that cycle 100 days, we've generated over $200 million of cash for the company.
When computing resources are sized and distributed to meet the specifications of a particular task, bureaucracy is cut. Information flows freely.
We rely heavily upon our analysis of the past to help predict the future. So what used to be the past was a quarter ago. Today we look at last week, we look at what happened yesterday. When we need something different than what the standard report has, we've got to fill out a request. The request goes into the backlog, into the black hole, if you will.
Development time right now for a report is anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks, and that doesn't take into account queuing time, which can be up to another 3 weeks. What we're trying to achieve is giving the ability for end users to generate their own reports, thereby cut through the bureaucracy.
I think we as a leader in this technology have to run right-sizing inside Sun on Sun. And that means we have to get to the client-server model. We have to offload a lot of our, the mainframe capabilities and get into the kind of paradigm shift that we've been telling our customers.
In a world where information is time and time is money, paper becomes the ultimate symbol of the waste and inefficiency of antiquated systems.
When I look at a piece of paper, I see something that's automatically dated. We're going to take paper out of the system, so we'll have more information that's online and electronic, and therefore it's more current. Those companies that do not grasp control of their information infrastructure and make it adaptable and changeable to their business needs will be the Rust Belt companies of the 90s, and they really won't make it into the next decade, and they really won't be competitive.
With enhanced database management systems and application development software, the needs of the business practice, not the limits of the technology, determine which systems are used.
We start out with a database that requires that we have a unique marketing part number for every configuration we offer to a company. We're not allowed to offer at the components. Every time you add, for instance, 1.05 gigabyte disk or 424 megabyte drive, you have to create a new marketing part number for that. At Sun, we've got 16,000 marketing part numbers.
Naturally, the more obscure and meaningless the identification codes are, the more chance for error, typos, or verbal errors. And those errors can be more costly than anyone could ever imagine. You hold up the installation of $500,000 worth of equipment because some piece is missing.
What would be really nice is when we get a big shipment like this with lots and lots of boxes, would be if the boxes are identified so we can tell which Spark station has how many boxes, and they're labeled so we can identify which boxes go with which system. The way a customer thinks about the way the systems are put together rather than the way a manufacturer thinks about the way the systems are put together.
We're implementing a new marketing parts scheme. As we move to Oracle and Sybase, we will simplify the ordering process for the customers, since customers will be able to place orders in their own languages and be invoiced in their own currencies. We estimate in the first year alone we'll save between $6 and $10 million of just internal processing, and this should generate at least $50 million of internal savings over the next 5 years.
Okay, looks like we have about 3,000 in stock. You can have
Whereas distance and scale were yesterday's enablers of success, time is now the critical factor in systems design.
Time is the enemy of success in the 90s. Time is the enemy of everything in the 90s for a business. And so what we are is we call ourselves information resources. In many ways, we're time resources, because what we are the driver of how much time there is in the business process.
We're looking to reduce time out of all parts of our system, to reduce the time it takes us to close our books, to reduce the time it takes us to manufacture our products, to increase our inventory turns, to reduce the time it takes our customers' orders to be turned around. And all of those combined will generate several hundred millions of dollars of new cash into Sun over the next 5 years.
Any upheaval of fundamental structural logic implies a change in the relationship between individuals and the universe they inhabit.
That's a real opportunity for people who are doing the work day in, day out to get involved and bring their expertise and their input to influence the change right where the work gets done. I think we as managers have got to encourage people to do that and support them as they come up with ideas on how to cause that kind of change.
I think IR people need to be in our face more. I think they have to be at our staff meetings. They have to be at our planning meetings. I think they have to challenge a lot of our assumptions.
Is as soon as you start talking about business practice changes, make sure you get your systems people involved. And the systems people, as soon as people start talking about it, don't say, wait till you've got things refined and then talk to me. Go in and help them up front and help us go and anticipate the needs.
New paradigms demand new psychologies.
no walls, build confidence, be prepared to trust, and not to be afraid to be wrong.
Indeed, the logic of peer-to-peer implies new responsibilities for each of us in business. No longer can our expectations reflect the limits of the old technology. Attitudes and assumptions must be challenged. Routines must be reevaluated. New relationships must be cultivated. Only then will the architecture of change be complete.